Hello again, everybody. So, the first week of the CPL has now concluded, and that means it's time for me to give a weekly recap. The first thing to note is that some coaches have used free agency moves to change around their teams. So, first of all, we have Kyra, who spent her last 2 points to pick up a Metang. Now, Metang, it's not a great Pokemon, I would say, but it gets her the Stealth Rocks, a backup Stealth Rocker to Gliscor and Diancie, and gives a more, I guess, defensive Steel type than Togedemaru would give her. So yeah, I don't know, maybe it would come in some match and we can see it serve some defensive utility. Maybe it can even run a more offensive set. It will be cool to see if Metang does anything at all this season. But moving on, we have Broken Motor, who made his team even more broken by picking up Nidoqueen. I believe he originally had Passimian, Rhydon, and Wigglytuff, and he dropped all three to pick up Nidoqueen. Now, I believe last time I said Passimian was kind of a repeated role within his team that I wasn't sure was necessary, and I guess he felt the same way, as well as with the Rhydon. Being covered by the Rhydon's roles being covered by the new Nidoqueen pickup as well as Colossal seems to make sense to me. Yeah, Nidoqueen. I mean, for a long time I thought this team was actually going to pick up Nidoking until it ended up being picked up by Simon. But yeah, definitely gives him a lot of offensive versatility on the special side, as well as hazard options in Stealth Rocks and Toxic Spikes. A big issue with this team previously was that it did not have a super reliable Stealth Rock setter, and now it has Nidoqueen, one of the best Stealth Rock setters in the game. Definitely think that this team benefited a lot from this pickup. But also he does have 1 point remaining, so we'll see if Broken Motor chooses to spend that last point sometime in the upcoming weeks. Now, I believe there is only one more team left to cover. Yes, there is. That is Namu coaching the Polis. This one is probably the most interesting one, as Namu, Sylvester, he had 10 points actually remaining when I went over the draft analysis. So what he actually elected to do was pick up Hariyama, Ninetales Alola, and Guzzlord while dropping the Regieleki. So it looks like he has committed to the full Hail Core by getting Ninetales Alola. It can set up the screens to assist Zygarde. It can obviously set up the Hail to assist the Arctozolt. Arctozolt under Hail, along with a plethora of fantastic pivots. Definitely a super scary team that everyone has to watch out for, basically. He also has Hariyama now. Gives him some more raw breaking power, which is always nice. And there is the Guzzlord pickup as well, which I am not a huge fan of Guzzlord, but at least it does give him a dark type, which prevents him from automatically losing to like cheese strats with like bulky psychic types. Although I believe there wasn't that many picked up outside of maybe Mew. Yeah, I mean, Guzzlord is kind of interesting. We'll see how this team does in the future weeks. Definitely like these changes a lot. So next up, let's just take a look at the standings. These are the week 1 standings. There were a lot of games that were won with a very wide margin, as you can see over here, although there was only one 6-0 win. What happened was Namu, basically, as you can see over here, the Zygarde 50 with 5 kills. You can already kind of tell what happened. Basically, it just Dragon Danced up, and the opponent, unfortunately, could not really answer that Pokemon. So, yeah, you can see over here in the kill leaders, it's pretty interesting what happened. You know, Zygarde 50 and Cloyster both actually ended up getting sweeps. Volcarona as well, cleaning up in the late game. And some of these other Pokemon are, you know, what you might expect. You know, Landorus, Gardevoir Mega, of course, picking up kills. But also the Cinderace actually doing a huge number on the opponent's team. Yeah, super cool to see the kill leaders getting populated, and I cannot wait to see how it turns out next week. But without further ado, we are going to get into the main event of this video, which is Game of the Week. Now, this week's Game of the Week is between the Miami Walreins and the Yveltal Imposters. Christian and Sid, two of the people that have, you know, just made this league possible. Both are my great friends. Both are very good battlers. I know Christian has been wanting to get into Draft League for a while now. This is his debut game. Yeah, super excited about this one. And let's just take a look at this matchup over here. So Christian is rocking the Coco Scizor Amoonguss Sus, Donphan, Corsola Galar, and Aerodactyl Mega. Now I feel like these sets will be relatively straightforward. You know, Coco has some offensive capability, with the ground just being a Diggersby. The Scizor is hard-walled by the Zapdos, so it'll probably just be some sort of knock and U-turn variant. It could also be Sword Stance with Quick Attack potentially, but I'm not sure if he wants to bring that set here. The Amoonguss, probably just like a standard Spore. At least one of these guys has got to be carrying the goggles just for that Pokemon, I'm sure of it. Donphan, you know, only does one thing, gets up rocks, whatever, spin. The Corsola, yeah, I mean, Corsola also only does one thing. This is probably his switch into the Diancie, seeing as nothing else on here really wants to take a hit. Maybe a Amoonguss, but then that's going to get Diamond Stormed or like Psychicked. It's also probably his answer to the Mienshao, seeing as Mienshao with coverage could potentially do a number on this team. And the Aerodactyl definitely looks very threatening to clean late game, especially if it is Dragon Dance. On the other hand, Sid's team is a little harder to predict. Obviously with the Mew and the Diancie over there, a very troubling Pokemon to prepare for. The Mienshao, I suspect, could be Scarfed, either that or the Diggersby, just to have some way to revenge the Aerodactyl. Otherwise, your Aerodactyl answer is very suspect. You could only have maybe like Shuka and Polion, or like a super defensive Mew, to make sure that you just like don't lose to this Pokemon. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be an interesting one to watch. So taking a look at the overall matchup, because I always think it's interesting to see what the coaches choose to bench. It looks like Sid just took pretty much his top 6, electing to bench the Decidueye, which I think makes sense against a variety of Pokemon that can, you know, outspeed it or wall it.
choosing to bench the Persian probably also makes sense. No Wob this week. We also don't see the Quillfish, which I guess the Quillfish could have sort of checked Infernape and Aerodactyl, but otherwise it was probably just getting up a single spike, which might not have done much, especially when the, Coco, Scizor can all be easily boots. On Christian's side, he actually chooses to bench some big threats, I would say, in Slowbro, Infernape, and Hydreigon. Slowbro, I can understand it would probably be overwhelmed by the combination of, Diancie and Diggersby, but could always serve as a good check to Mienshao. The Infernape, yeah, I guess I can also see this being benched, but I could also see it um, running a few sets that could put in some work. The Hydreigon was a little bit surprising. I feel like the combination of just strong Dark Pulse and maybe Flash Cannon, really really solid against Sid's team. His only real check to that is Assault Vest Mienshao, which I guess having Hydreigon was nice because it could potentially force the Mienshao into that set.
So with that being said, let's just get right into it. We see a Scizor and Mienshao lead. I'm expecting both of these to just click U-turn or knockoff, and we do see the U-turn come out. The Thundurus reveals Static, and it did not get the Static para on the Scizor. Christian goes into Donphan, probably just to get a Brox, as the Zapdos U-turns out into the Diggersby, and we actually see a Stone Edge come out, so this is probably some sort of offensive Donphan, even though it did kind of nothing to that Diggersby, and it knocks off the Citrus Berry actually, so is this a defensive Diggersby? Holy crap, dude. Is this Cheek Pouch Citrus like some sort of utility? We see the Toxic and the U-turn, so it's very possible. I'm not going to pull up the calcs right now, but it's possible that this was Sid's answer to the Coco as a sort of defensive ground type. However, with the Citrus Berry knocked off and not consumed, that's actually going to be huge as he cannot actually recycle it back. So he U-turns out there on the Earthquake, as that crit actually does a pretty big amount of damage, as the Mew just throws off a Psychic into the Corsola, which Corsola takes this opportunity to get up rocks, which I think is pretty fair, as the Mew was probably not going to set up or do anything super scary over there. It was probably going to roost or maybe get scared out. Then the Empoleon comes in. Is this Empoleon going to defog, or... Okay, so it just gets up its own rocks, which I guess that's fair. Sid's team definitely does not care about rocks as much as Christian's team does. And we do see the goggles come out on the Empoleon. So this Empoleon is safe to just stay in and fish for the burn, which it previously actually could not do that, because if its goggles has no recovery, the Amoonguss can just stay in and spam Giga Drain. However, now it has Roost, so it can actually afford to run a set like this, which I think is super cool. The Empoleon's just going to keep fishing for burns. Christian goes into Scizor, knowing that this Scizor, okay, I can already tell what kind of set it is. It's just a Roost pivot, so it does not really care about getting burned. I guess you would want the damage output for Diancie potentially, but he does have a lot of ways of revenging Diancie. It's just switching in would kind of be difficult. And he goes into the Donphan on Heat Wave actually, which misses. That's kind of unfortunate because 2 Heat Waves might have been able to knock it out. But we'll see a Roost come out here into the Earthquake. Now, that turn was absolutely huge, I think. And it also didn't really make sense to me, at least. I'm really not sure why either of these players made the play they did. Roosting off the little bit of damage to... Was he expecting the Stone Edge? I feel like the Donphan always should have clicked Knock here. Just to knock off the boots of the Zapdos. The Earthquake play was kind of wild, but also the Roost play didn't really make much sense either. If he was expecting knockoff, he could have switched into Diggersby, he could have just clicked Heat Wave again. I'm not sure why he roosted there, unless it was expecting the Stone Edge, which, you know, I don't think that play makes much sense either. As for why he Earthquaked, there's no way he was predicting the 80% Zapdos to roost. He must have been thinking something like he's going to go Diggersby again, but if this Diggersby has already revealed to be utility, then I feel like Knock into it again is safe. You just Earthquake again the turn after, unless he really doesn't want to take that Toxic. But yeah, really ballsy plays by both players, and it definitely just works out in the favor of Christian here. Now, next turn we'll see what happens next. Will this Zapdos attempt to roost again to get back up to a more decent amount of health, or will it get scared out by the potential of another Earthquake? And it just does choose to Heat Wave, as the Donphan, yeah, now honestly it has a really free knock. Probably should have come out last turn, but definitely worked out for Christian. As now, okay, yeah, it does reveal to be Assault Vest. That Heat Wave did kind of bounce off there. But the Koko comes out now, and the Mienshao stays in on the Koko. This kind of makes me think that it's Assault Vest Mienshao, unless he was just sacking it there, but I don't think he would have sacked it there. Yeah, I don't think he would have sacked it there, so it's making me think that this is Assault Vest. As the Corsola comes out into the Poison Jab. So potentially the Mienshao was baiting that Koko there to have it stay in, click Thunderbolt, not kill, and then do a lot of damage with Poison Jab. However, he does, I guess, scout it with the Corsola. Now this Corsola is kind of useless now that's poisoned and like half health. Honestly, Corsola was always useless, but he does get another Strength Sap out of it. And the Diggersby does reveal the spikes, which is kind of what I expected would come out. I believe this thing's last move would just be the Recycle, seeing as it already revealed Citrus. So Mew comes out, and it goes for the Flamethrower. Is this no Roost Mew? If this Mew had Roost, he would have definitely gone for it. So it's definitely some sort of fully offensive, maybe Double Dance Mew, which means that the crit from earlier definitely really hurt it a lot. And now Mew is probably in range of another Bullet Punch, so he couldn't go into it. He had to go into the Empoleon there. And the Scizor does knock off the Safety Goggles, which is going to be huge for that Amoonguss right now. Yeah, it should definitely be coming out right now, seeing as the goggles are knocked off. So the Empoleon can fire off an Ice Beam, but with the potential of being Spored, it is no longer guaranteed that it would be able to beat the Amoonguss. However, Christian chooses to double out to the Scizor, maybe not wanting to take more Ice Beam damage, as Sid actually goes into the Mew maybe he is trying to sleep fodder that, which yeah, definitely makes sense. And the Mew just throws off a Psychic to pick it off. Now the Koko comes out, and it Thunderbolts the Mienshao, does over half, so definitely not a good pivot there. And Sid now goes into Diancie, which should scare out this Koko. At this point, the Koko just cleans up, and the Arrow also cleans up. So definitely makes sense for him to just save that Koko over there. And I mean, he could have U-turned out, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Definitely makes sense for him to save that there and just come back in and clean later. We will see the Amoonguss switch on the Diancie. I guess the Diancie cannot actually kill the Amoonguss at that range, so Sid goes into the Empoleon. And now it can just throw off a Spore unless he goes back into the Diancie. Honestly, going back into the Diancie might have been the necessary play there, and throwing off a Diamond Storm unless he didn't have it. So yeah, this Empoleon gets Spored, and now he's really forced to switch out here because the Empoleon is guaranteed a sleep, so Christian gets a free switch into either Aerodactyl or Koko, and if he stays in, he's just giving a free kill. So Sid is, yeah, forced to switch out, and is also Christian's best play to switch out as well, just to keep up the offensive pressure. Like, once he gets enough damage on Diancie, once he gets enough damage on Mienshao, either one of Aerodactyl or Koko could clean up the game. And we do see the switch into Koko as well as Mienshao, and oh wow, that Thunderbolt actually knocks it out. So what is that nasty roll? Like, the Thunderbolt did, what, 58 before? Yeah, the Thunderbolt did 58 before and now did 64. I mean, yeah, I don't think that Mienshao would have OHKO'd the Koko either way, but yeah, that was an unfortunate roll, you know, 58 to 64. Of course, if Sid had not actually pivoted in on the previous turn, he would have been at enough health to eat that Thunderbolt comfortably. However, yeah, I'm not really sure why he decided to go Mienshao on the Koko, other than fearing a setup set potentially, or just thinking that he lived 2, which I feel like you would have calced if you lived 2. Yeah, maybe he was fearing some sort of setup set. But yeah, either way, the Koko takes out the Mienshao, and now the only thing standing in the way of a complete Koko victory is the Diancie at 76% health. Yeah, I think this is definitely over now, since the Aerodactyl can just come in. It does not even need to set up, can just Earthquake. I guess, yeah, I'm not really sure what Sid had for this Aerodactyl, because the Mew wasn't defensive, the Mienshao wasn't Scarf. This, yeah, I guess it was the Diggersby. Maybe it was the Diggersby that was the answer to the Aerodactyl. But between Koko and Arrow, yeah, his team was just super pressured. So I think either Sid had to get in Diancie earlier and just like put on the offensive pressure, or prep a more defensive team to answer all of Christian's threats. But yeah, either way, very well played and very well prepped. Super cool game between, I would say, 2 of the league's more skilled or more veteran players. Yeah, looking forward to see where these coaches go in the upcoming weeks. But in the next week, yeah, I guess we can give a brief preview of what's going to go down. we have Kyra versus Ray. At the time of this recording, the game is actually already complete, but I won't say anything on that. Boo against Ricardo. Sid against Simon. This one should be a funny one. They're actually also playing each other in some TCG tournament, so I guess we get to have 2 games this week. We have Broken Motor against Random. We have Sylvester against Jesus. Sunny against Banana Thief. Christian against Sam. And Praj against Adrian. Yeah, I guess I'm looking forward to seeing the most is Sid versus Simon. But there should be also some other games over here that could be pretty interesting. Maybe we'll see an upset from Sunny. Yeah, I guess with that being said, I'll see you next time.